Imagine getting the assignment of a lifetime, just planning to see your favorite musical star and instead getting to interview him. This is the story of how I got to interview Paul McCartney and his then brand new band on their first ever tour, part of a deep dive backstage at a Paul McCartney concert. I'm David Fell, a longtime part of the ABC 7 Eyewitness News team. One thing all my friends know about me is I am a giant Beatles fan. So on April 10th, 2002, I was already excited. We were all in a temporary newsroom in what is now the Windy City Live studio, while our permanent newsroom was being modernized. I was wearing my tie-dyed Sgt. Pepper t-shirt because as soon as the 6 p.m. news was over, I was going to see Paul McCartney at the United Center, his first Chicagoland show in over a dozen years. So imagine my surprise when the news director popped out of her office and said, "Is anyone free to do some backstage interviews before the Paul McCartney concert?" The tour had offered ABC 7 exclusive access, but all the reporters were tied up. My lucky day. Jeff Baker, McCartney's press officer at the time, made me and ABC 7 photographer Eugene Standback welcome. And he told us Paul feels very much at home when he visits Chicago.
This is it. This is rock and roll. This is where the blues began. This is where the Beatles started. You know, he's really ready to rock on this because this is his people. This is a working class city. This city was, built by working men. It's the same thing as Liverpool. It's exactly the same sort of vibe. This is, the music from here started the Beatles off in the first place when they wanted to be kind of serious blues guys, before they became the phenomenon. So this is like bringing it all back home to where it came from in the first place. Fantastic. You kidding?
McCartney hadn't played in the Chicagoland area since 1989. He hadn't done any touring at all since '93. Chicago was stop number 4 for Paul and his brand new backing band, a band that has stayed with McCartney ever since. It came 7 months after the attacks of September 11th, bringing much-needed joy in a way that was reminiscent of Paul's first visit to the U.S., as extraordinary Beatles fan and WXRT host Terry Hemmert noted at the time.
What we've gone through as a nation in the past couple of months, I think Paul, the way he's been present to us and entertained and inspired us with the concert in New York City is reminiscent of what the Beatles did for us after JFK was assassinated. So music is essential. Music feeds us and fills us up in a lot of ways, and Paul McCartney does it. Well, nobody does it better than Paul.
Jeff Baker took us everywhere, meeting sound engineers, some of the dancers who entertained during McCartney's pre-show, and caterers who managed the tour's lavish vegetarian spread. But most importantly, the musicians. These interviews, most of which have never been seen before, are among the first ever given by Paul's then new band, a band Variety would call as tight as they come. The ever-smiling Abe Laboriel Jr. was the first new recruit. The drummer is the son of famed jazz bassist Abraham Laboriel. Abe had previously worked with K.D. Lang and Sting, among others, and then came that exciting call.
It's unbelievable. It's truly amazing. This is a dream I didn't even know I had, growing up, listening to these songs, just such a part of life, and suddenly be able to play with one of the guys who created it is just unbelievable. Yeah.
Now, what does Chicago mean to you in terms of music?
Well, for me, there's a lot of good food here. And a lot of good music comes from a lot of good food, I think. Plus, obviously, the history of the blues here, and it's just an amazing town, So there's always something going on, so always somebody playing music. So it's just going to be inspiring tonight.
Great. Now, what's your story about how you got involved in this? You're on the record, right?
Yeah, I played on Driving Rain, which was just an amazing experience. David Kahn, the producer of the record, was somebody who I had met a couple of times, had some really nice conversations about life and music. And when he had been asked to produce the album, he, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, thought of me. And I've been grateful to him ever since. He asked me to do the record, and after I picked my mouth off of the floor, I said yes. Yeah.
So are you pinching yourself every day?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? You can't get this smile off my face. It's just amazing.
Like Laboriel, lead guitar player Rusty Anderson got a call to work on McCartney's Driving Rain album.
Oh man, it's been a dream come true. Really, really fun. You know, I mean, this is what, our 5th show? Yeah. And yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's all felt so natural. You know, I think everyone, you know, really gets the music and appreciates it. And a lot of times, you know, you play in a situation where everybody isn't completely, you know, into it, or it is some, like, you know, sort of rub or something. And this one's just been like, you know, real magic.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, how do you feel about coming here to Chicago?
Oh, Chicago is, it's almost like the most American city in a way. It's kind of in the middle of everything, you know. And the only thing I have a hard time getting past is like looking at the ocean and not being able to see the other side because it's a lake, and, you know, that whole deal.
Mm-hmm. How did you end up being in Paul's band?
Actually, did the record, the Driving Rain record. That was when I first met him, along with Abe. And a friend of mine, David Kahn, who's a producer who I'd worked with a lot, you know, he called me and says, hey, you know, I think I might be producing the new McCartney record. I said, wow, that's amazing. I was so happy for him, you know, because I thought, wow, and happy just because he's a great producer, and I thought, it's perfect, you know. And he goes, well, you know, there might be some guitar playing, you know, needed. I'm like, I'm your man, you know. So, and at first I didn't even think of that, and then, you know, it started hitting me, and I'm like, wow, this, because the Beatles are the reason that I play music. I mean, that's why I started. So you know.
Are you, like, pinching yourself every day?
Yeah, at least once a day.
Yeah. Okay.
Brian Ray plays lead guitar, rhythm guitar, and bass when Paul's playing the piano or the guitar. He toured as Etta James's musical director for 14 years before joining up with McCartney's band.
I've just heard from a dear friend of mine who just played here with Weezer that it was one of the best places he'd ever played, and for one of the best crowds he'd ever played with. So I'm really excited to be here tonight.
How did you end up getting the gig to work with Paul?
That's a good question. I had been touring with Abraham, the drummer, and we've been touring in France for quite some time with a couple of the premier French artists. And Abe gave my name to Paul's producer. Paul's producer called me up and asked me, would you be interested in coming and playing the Super Bowl? And I said, well, hell yeah. And he said, can you be down at my office in an hour? And I said, I'll be there. And we just met, and that sort of gave me a little bit of an inside track on the tour, and just worked my buns off to get here, yeah.
How does it feel working with such a legendary performer?
Oh, it's an amazing feeling. I mean, you can imagine. The songs, the melodies, the arrangements are etched in my heart, in my soul, and in my life, you know. I'm of an age where I remember very distinctly the night that they blasted out of the TV set, and it just meant the world to me. It changed my life. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's the thing that made the difference to me. I never had to make a decision what I wanted to do with my life after that night. And here I am, and I get to play with him, so I feel really privileged, to be honest with you.
You're pinching yourself?
Oh, you know, I'm pinching myself every day. I just can't believe it. You know, it's, what a privilege.
One band member was not a newcomer. Paul Wickens, better known as Wicks, who serves as musical director and plays keyboards. At the time of this interview in 2002, he'd already been with McCartney for more than a dozen years.
Yeah, February '89 I started, and then did the 2 other world tours that he's done.
Does Chicago have any special meaning for you? Any musical insights?
It does, actually. 2 special meanings. First time I ever came here was with Paul, and I was very ill, had bad food poisoning, and I had to come out of hospital to do the gigs. So I was, you know, on a drip, and then came out, did the gig, went back into hospital, and missed going out and playing in the blues clubs, which I was really looking forward to. And then we ended up that tour at Soldiers Field, and I had a great time. My parents were out, my family was out. We did a gig, and then I went out and went down to Kingston Mines and sat in and had a fantastic time.
Are you especially excited about playing here? Or?
Yeah, the audiences here are great, really great. They don't hold back, and they let you know. So
Now, I know it's been a long time, but how did you first get involved with working with Paul?
I think because I knew 2 of the guys that were already working with him, my name came up, and I just went down to have a play in a very kind of loose jam down at his studio, and then got asked a bit later on if I wanted to come and do the tour, and that was in 1989 for the 89-90 tour, and that turned into 5 years. Pretty much solid work, yeah.
And then there's the bass player. Jeff Baker told our photographer to start rolling tape and follow him. In seconds, we were in Paul McCartney's United Center dressing room. His then fiancée, Heather Mills, was there too.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi, Paul.
Hello,
Paul. Heather.
Hi, guys.
Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
Good. Excited
All
about the
right.
show tonight?
Yeah, man. I'm psyched. We're ready to go. Ready to roll.
How do you feel about playing in Chicago? Any particular
Love
feelings?
Chicago.
What do you love about Chicago?
Love it. Home of the blues.
Yeah?
It goes, good music town. We always love the people here, and they seem to like us.
Now, it's been like 10 years, 12 years since you've been here.
50.
On tour. 50
50,
years.
at least 50, man. Yeah, but I'm ready to roll tonight.
Yeah. How's the tour been going so far?
Brilliant. Really great. Yeah, been having a great time.
Any surprises about stuff that people were responding to more than you expected?
You know, as we go along, the song Freedom kind of builds. You know, it was kind of really hot the first night. It gets hotter every night. No, we're just pleased that the people are loving the show and that we're loving playing for them. And it's just rolling. We're rolling around America, driving USA.
Thinking about taking the tour anywhere else? I know people in Europe have been clamoring.
Yeah, no, at the moment it's just America. Yeah, but we're rocking and rolling, and we're looking forward to tonight. So I hope you enjoy the show. Let's go! All right!
We also got to hear a bit of the band practicing their backing vocals, a few oohs and ahs from Let It Be and Hey Jude. As you might guess, copyrights, music clearances, and the like mean I can't share those sounds with you or music from the show. But it was amazing, and I got to watch Rusty Anderson do some guitar work very close up.
And I'll be taking that home to study.
Then, right on schedule, the band was led to the stage for a 2.5-hour show that left the audience enraptured. That's me there in the tie-dye. Smiling, singing faces everywhere you looked, leaving a very satisfied audience at the end of the night.
I couldn't stop screaming. I'm going to have no voice tomorrow because of this.
Oh, when he played Let It Be and Hey Jude back to back. Awesome. Awesome. I was ready to die.
Oh my God, I'm not gonna have no voice tomorrow for school.
What was the best part?
Oh my God, I don't know, everything is all the best.
He sang 37 songs, played about 2.5 hours. I've been to a lot of shows, and it was a very sentimental concert, and he played acoustic for a lot of the show. And I've got a song list of everything that he sang, and you know, he went from Band on the Run to early Beatles to late Beatles to Wings, and it was tremendous.
We did have one final encounter as the band was leaving the United Center, the always joyful Abe Laboriel Jr. leaping up in front of our camera, and then we got a quick greeting as McCartney headed out to his next adventure.
Oh, yeah, man. See you next time. Yo.
David Fell, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.